He's got $551,000 in his TSP, and he wonders if he should do Roth conversions. TSP is the same thing, by the way, as a 401k or a 403b or even an IRA. It's not an ERISA plan, IRAs are not, but basically deferred accounts. He's got $551,000 in deferred accounts. Should he do Roth conversions? And I'm going to show you why I don't see much of a benefit of that. So let's dive into this here real quick. All right, so here's the first screenshot. You can see he's still working. That's what that orange thing is, FICA tax. He lives in Florida, all right? Here's when he's going to sell his house and buy something bigger. So he's taking a pretty significant tax hit here. That's what that jump is. I'm not sure I'd actually do that. We might look at a mortgage instead. But if he doesn't, in this case, he's saying I'm going to relocate, buy a bigger home, and I'm going to use the proceeds from the sale of my house plus money I got in my TSP to buy a bigger home, and I'll have to pay tax on that. Anyway, so you can see right here, his effective tax rate is only about 10%. All right, and then this is when he dies, and his wife has a little bit of a widow's tax trap. Not much. So, I mean, it's just not that big of a deal, frankly. This is an effective tax rate. So in this case, effective tax rate means you pay $10,000 tax on $100,000 of income. That's an effective tax rate. I hope that makes sense. I mean, we're not Sweden. I tell this to people all the time. Now, you might be wondering why he has a 10% effective tax rate throughout. And then when when he dies, his wife left with 12%. Because he has a pension from the federal, he's a FERS employee. He's got a pension from the federal government of, I think, $30,000 a year or something like that. It was not huge, but, hey, we'll take it. It's better than, $20,000 a year. So he's already, he's guaranteed to be at already a 10% effective tax rate. This isn't marginal tax brackets. This is effective tax rate, which is really all that matters. What is my taxes paid on my income? It has nothing really to do with marginal tax brackets. This is tax rate. So because of his pension, he's already going to pay 10% effective tax no matter what. All right. This is with no Roth conversions. All right, so check it out. All right, so he's still working. Now he's retired at 64. He still has pension. He has a pension, and his wife's on Social Security. Then he'll take his Social Security. So he'll have two Social Securities and a pension. So right here at 68, he's got $113,000 coming in, of which base is guaranteed income. No planned distributions. Planned distributions are required minimum distribution. He has $102,000 going out plus $11,000 goals, typically travel goals and whatnot. He pays about $9,500 in tax. All right, I mean that seems pretty. $9,500 in tax on $123,000 of outflows is really $113,000 because he has to pay tax on this. But anyway, you can see $9,500 on $113,000 of income. That's just not a bad deal, man. That's just not. All right, now if you're wondering what these net flows are, well, he has $113,000 coming in. He's got $102,000 going out. Plus he has a travel goal. Plus he has taxes. So his total expenses are $123 when all is said and done. So he has to dip into his portfolio of some sort in which to make up the difference of basically $10,000. So he has to come up with an extra $10,000. All right, that's all calculated in the software, by the way. Anyway, point being is, look at this: $113 of income, $9,500 of taxes, and this is his young. Well, he's young in terms of young as a retiree. Now we can see his total income is $3.558 million. $3.558 million, which includes RMDs at $278. As his income flows between his pension and two Social Securities, required distributions. I can't remember what this other income flow is. I maybe selling his house. I think that's what it is. He's selling his house, but I can't recall. Anyway, so he's got total income flows of $3.558 million. He has total income taxes of, we'll just say 410 divided by. His effective tax rate is 11.5%. 11.5%. All right, so let's keep going here. And basically, he's in five-figure taxes until he dies, essentially. Now, when he dies, it goes to, what was it? Almost, I forgot. Yeah, so basically, he's at high 4 to low 5 until he dies. So you can see 9,500, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. She's a widow, 9,400, 9,900, 10,000, 10,000. It grows gradually to 11,000, 12,000, 13,000, 14,000. But now she's 89 years old. All right. So her income has dropped significantly because of the loss of one of the Social Securities. And I think maybe not, I think it's a 50% survivor benefit on the pension. I can't remember. But anyway, she's losing a Social Security and a portion of the pension. So her income drops from 143, 146 down to 81, if that makes sense. And her taxes in this case drop as well. So now she's got to pay $9,400 in taxes on $94,000 of income. She's still in a 10% effective tax rate, man. Yeah, this is a widow. All right. Now what happens is her taxes, as would make sense, start going up. Why? Because she has RMDs kicking in. This is where the widow's tax trap really hits you, is the RMDs. And so what you'll see here is they got $159,000 of income while they're married filing jointly in 2040. They pay $12,000 in taxes. Fast forward here, right there, they have 111. She has $111,000 of income because she's a single taxpayer, still has RMDs, losses of Social Security, but continues a pension and a Social Security. So she has 111,000 of taxes, but here she pays 13,000 of tax. 111,000 of income, but here she pays 13,000 of taxes. Yeah, that's not that big of a deal. That's not a typical widow's tax trap. A typical widow's tax trap is when your tax rate jumps up immediately because of significant required distributions that you have. And he doesn't have enough RMDs to make it really that big of a deal. It's just not a huge RMD effect. And so yeah, a little bit of widow's tax trap, but nothing I'd be like, oh my goodness, you better do Roth conversions. But we're going to show you what happens when he does Roth conversions. So now we're doing Roth conversions to the extent of the 12% tax bracket. All right. So again, we're talking effective tax rate versus tax bracket. He was underneath the 12% tax bracket before. So now we're saying we're going to fill up the 12% tax bracket. And you can see now there's no widow's tax trap because he paid more taxes on the front end, which put him at a 12% effective tax rate. Makes sense. And now she is at a basically 9. This is when he dies right there. So her taxes go down a little bit even when he dies. Well, the reason for that is because they paid more on the front end. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. I got no problem with that. But again, because of the pension, we always have this level, a baseline of always going to be essentially a 10% effective tax rate. That doesn't jump out at me as out that big of a deal. Why pay more taxes today to avoid paying less in the future? Is kind of what we're seeing here. That doesn't say, oh, that's definitely a go. It's okay, but not that big of a deal. And again, it's because of pension. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So here we are again. This is what they're looking at before. Lower taxes, higher taxes. So basically this is when they're in their 70s and 80s, late 70s and 80s, not much of a widow's tax trap. So we're going to pay more in taxes over here to avoid paying this in the future. There's not a huge benefit to that at all. So let's do, instead of filling up the 12% tax, soon to be 15% tax bucket, we're just going to do it a couple fell swoop. In 2 years, we're going to fill up to 22%, I think. We're paying a lot more in taxes on the front end, and in that way we're filling up the 22% tax bracket, where our effective tax rate is only 15%, but we're paying a whole lot more on the front end, so that way we can be less than 10%. I don't know. Again, there's a small increase in taxes when he dies, but again, that doesn't have a huge appeal to me. We're going to pay basically double our taxes for the next 2 years, so we can pay a little bit less going forward. I'm not so sure. So let's see what it looks like from the overall scheme of things as opposed to just looking at effective tax rate. So here we're doing Roth conversions to fill up the 12% tax bracket, and you can see we're paying $323,000 of taxes on $3.2 million of income. Obviously, the reason our income is lower because we don't have the required distributions. And so because there's no required distributions, because everything is on a Roth by that point, we don't show as much income on the 1040. So, but she's not going to need it anyway because her pension that she inherits and a Social Security with no debt will be more than enough to cover her income needs. So basically, her income drops and her tax rates drop. Now, at the end of the day, if she needed more money, this would be preferable simply because she can tap into a Roth. But I mean, we're still based at a 10% effective tax rate. $323,000 of total taxes on $3.25 million of income. Not a huge benefit there to stretch 12% to 15% Roth conversions. I don't see any benefit of doing that at all. So in my opinion, if you're going to do the Roth conversions, make it a fell swoop, one and done, or in this case, two and done, and just move on. So we'll see what that looks like. Here, what we're doing is we're doing 2 years, basically 3 years of filling up the 22% tax bracket, essentially what's happening here. And so we're paying $100,000 of income tax on the front end of our retirement, the first 3 years. Remember, we only have $550,000 in the TSP. Yeah, so we're going to pay $150,000. I mean, basically 100,000, a little bit less than $100,000 on the front end. And that way, we avoid paying five-figure taxes later on. In fact, by the time we're 67 and taking Social Security, we're only paying $6,700 in taxes, whereas before we're paying $9,900. I just don't see a huge benefit of that. I mean, we're still a little bit less than a 10% effective tax rate. We got 306 divided by 3,243. So here we're at a 9.4% effective tax rate. I just don't see a huge benefit of this. This is why I tell people with pensions all the time. It's like, look, man, I don't. It depends on how much you have in your deferred accounts, but this guy only has 551 in the TSP. So why pay a whole bunch of taxes on the front end of your retirement so that way when your wife is a widow at 83 years old, she pays less? Not a huge benefit of that whatsoever. So I wouldn't do it. And I emailed the guy today because he emailed me and said, what do you think? I said, what are we trying to accomplish here? Now, he might have something. I mean, look, I get it. I did 2 Roth conversions last year and this year. Was it stupid according to a spreadsheet? Sure. But I like the idea of never having to pay tax on that money again. I love it. And, that's okay. Is that a rational perspective from economics or financial planning? No. For me, though, it's great. I say, I'll pay the tax if I got the money and be done with it. And that makes me feel good. But that, in terms of spreadsheeting it, you can't justify that from a spreadsheet. So you have to justify it emotionally. And there's nothing wrong with being irrational from your emotional relative to a financial planning software or Excel spreadsheet. But you're not going to have a hard time convincing me doing these Roth conversions from a financial planning perspective is irrational. It's just not. I just don't see a huge benefit of that from a tax perspective. Certainly, I don't see a huge benefit from it from a bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush, if that makes sense. Why give up your money now to have potential less taxes in the future? I don't see a huge benefit of that. But from an irrational, that doesn't mean you're crazy perspective, maybe there's something there. That's why I left him with the email. So what are we trying to accomplish here? So love your thoughts. I would not recommend Roth conversions in this strategy. All right, we'll see you.